Next, Russia's ambassador to the UN, Vitaly Churkin, has been commenting on the recent escalation of the conflict in Ukraine, where both sides have been blaming each other for a rise in violence in recent days. He's been speaking to Aleksey Yaroshevsky in an exclusive interview for RT.
Those who are provoking those manifestations of violence in eastern Ukraine, this may be one of their goals. To make sure, because they don't want the relations between Russia and the United States to improve, to make sure that there are additional obstacles for that improvement to happen. And of course, the crisis in Ukraine is one of the things which need to be overcome for the potential of Russia-US cooperation really to be fully utilized.
Okay, let's go live to New York now. We can talk to Aleksey Yaroshevsky. Aleksey, good to see you again. What else did Mr. Churkin have to say about the situation in Ukraine to you?
Well, in regards to the situation in Ukraine, Vitaly Churkin specifically told about the OSCE reports, the latest reports coming out, which suggest that Kiev could be to blame for the latest escalation of violence. But this has been overlooked by many officials from Western countries. And one thing that he also specified, that if you tune into any mainstream media network in the United States, you will only hear the situation on the Ukrainian-controlled side of the conflict. You would not hear of casualties and bombing and destruction on the anti-government forces side of the conflict. That may be one of the reasons why the Trump administration still has no distinct position on the Ukrainian crisis, something that Trump recently said himself, that there's no adequate information for them to make a conclusion. And despite that, Nikki Haley, the new colleague of Vitaly Churkin within the United Nations Security Council, started off her tenure with a sharp criticism of Russia's actions. He says that this is not something completely unexpected, and they still had a very positive conversation with her afterwards on Ukraine and many other issues. And this is not something that could scupper what could be a very good relationship, as Churkin believes, between Washington and Moscow now with the new U.S. administration.
Okay. Beyond Ukraine, though, a fractious time at the UN. When isn't it a fractious time at the UN on a number of things? Did you get to pin down Ambassador Churkin on any other topics?
Well, we covered a lot of ground from, again, Ukraine to Yemen, Syria. We talked about Tillerson, Nikki Haley, and many other things. But one very interesting issue, which is now making a lot of noise here in the United States, is how exactly the rhetoric against Iran coming from the Trump administration can hamper the potential detente or reset of ties between Moscow and Washington. I asked Churkin about what he felt, whether Iran could be a very crucial factor in this triangle of relations.
This hue and cry about Iranian missile launches, ballistic missile launches. I was surprised actually to hear even American experts speaking on, like CNN, describing the situation about ballistic missile launches. They're saying, well, this is a violation of bans by UN Security Council. Those bans were there before. All those bans were lifted when the arrangements on the nuclear, nuclear problem, Iranian nuclear problem were reached. And in international life, of course, you have to differentiate between your emotions, what you want to see, but also and what you are really sort of has the right to expect from another country.
So you've heard it yourself that diplomats should abstain from using emotions in official language, and this is something that Churkin is hoping for. I would say this is a cautious optimism that relations between him and Haley, between Moscow and Washington, could get better, but I guess we'll find out soon enough when Tillerson meets Lavrov.
Sure, I'm sure that we'll get all that interview loaded up on RT.com shortly as well. For now, though, Aleksey Yaroshevsky in New York, thank you.